Hey guys, welcome back to New Digs. We're here in Canton, Connecticut at Emily Avancian's family farm. And Emily is my coworker and my friend. And she has started her own cut flower business here in the last few years. So we want to ask you about that and find out a little bit more about the business.
Absolutely, I'd love to show you.
So let's talk about the farm. So this is your family, your grandfather's farm, and I know he was kind of a well-known figure in the area, right?
Yes.
Everybody knew your grandpa.
He was. He was a very well-known dairy farmer in the state. We had about 100 dairy cows for about 40 years, or longer, really. And we were the last farm in the state of Connecticut, I love this fact, that had the cows actually cross the road to graze. So we were the last farm in the state of Connecticut to hold up traffic to get cows to cross the road.
That's great.
And then we sold all those cows back in about 2004. And ever since then, we've pretty much just been a vegetable hay farm. But over the past couple of years, I've kind of moved from like hay farm into the flower business. And eventually I'd love to turn the whole thing into a flower farm, but we'll see.
And how many acres?
The whole property is 128. It goes on both sides of the roads, and then we own woodland land up behind the house. So it goes far back up into the woods.
That's amazing. That's just amazing to have that much property in what's a pretty developed area of Connecticut.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally a housing development on the other side of that mountain over there. We get bids on housing developments and real estate agents all the time, but we just think it's really important to preserve the land and keep it in the family and turn it into something eventually that's really productive. I mean, it's been a really working, successful farm for years, and in the past few years, we've kind of fallen off of that, but the goal is to just get it back on track with something like flower farming.
With the next generation.
With me. Yeah, exactly.
That's great. So this is your flower garden.
Yes.
And so talk to us about it. Show us. And I see you've got some help over there.
Yes,
So we'll
the first year I actually have an employee. She's my little intern. She's 11. She works really hard. I've taught her how to hoe. I've taught her how to weed. I've made her drilled into her mind all the names of the flowers I grow. And it's really nice to just have someone here to help. It's really nice to know that someone cares and wants to continue this on or wants to learn.
Yeah.
I also have a business partner that runs my social media. She's my really good friend from like kindergarten. She runs my TikTok. She runs my Instagram. She does all the marketing, all the communication stuff. She helped me with my business cards, everything like that. So that's she does the clerical end and I do the laborious end. But I'll tell you like kind of what I grow. So we'll start. So I have 5 rows of sunflowers. 1 row I've already sold to Riverside Nursery. I grew them specifically for them. They are not looking amazing this year. They're a little caloric. We've had an insane year of rain. So they were sitting in water for the entire month of July. So their leaves are a little browning, but the buds are beautiful. I grow 2 varieties. I grow Pro Cut, which you cut once and then they're done. Then I grow Gold Rush, which they're much taller. And they bud multiple times. So once the big one goes, then you get little tiny ones coming off, and those are better for putting into bouquets. The big ones are better for like wholesale purposes, where I sell them for $1 a stem on the stand. But the little ones are better to actually put into arrangements or things like that. And then I grow Dahlias and sell Dahlias. They're probably my biggest seller. I grow dinner plate. I grow minis. They are all caged in. So that the birdies, the birdies and the chickies and...
So Emily, tell me, we were just talking about your sunflowers. So tell me what we're looking at here.
These are my zinnias, probably my favorite flower. My dad has always grown these. Like I grew up every year, we always had these in the vegetable garden. And so I've just grown to love them, and they grow so easy. They're so easy to take care of, and they're beautiful. And they come in such an array of colors, varieties, sizes, and they are cut and come. So you cut them, and the more you cut them, the more they grow.
And now these are all from seed.
These start them all.
When do you start these? When do you start them right in the ground, or
do
you start them inside?
I start them in seed start trays, tiny little trays. Then I move them into bigger sized plugs, and then once they're established about 3 inches, then I put them into the ground.
So that's in the springtime. That's really labor intensive.
Yeah, that's pretty much the hardest part, is just getting them. You have to use little tweezers and move them from their tiny starts to their bigger plugs, then water them every day, make sure that they're looking good, fertilizing them when they're seeds. We start that. We have a greenhouse now, so we've been able to start that in early April.
April in the greenhouse.
Yep, early April in the greenhouse we start the snapdragons, the zinnias, and the cosmos.
Let's look at the cosmos.
Whatever you want. Yeah, so
Here, let me get out.
let me get out.
I will get out.
Yeah, so it's been a really great year for cosmos. They're taller than me, as you can see. I think the rain really amped them up a lot. I've fertilized them one time when they were plugs. I haven't fertilized them since. I try not to use any harsh chemical fertilizer. I try to go pretty much organic. Bone meal. These are just pretty much natural. I grow double click variety instead of single click just because I think that they make a nicer bud for arrangements and cutting, and the stems are a lot thicker. So in that way, it's more productive, and you can, sell them better. They look better in bouquets.
What I can't believe is that none of these are staked.
They are staked. So I
Oh, they are.
They
Okay.
are staked. So I stake them all once they start to establish. I stake the
So they are-
zinnias by using we use bamboo stakes.
Yeah.
We use old tomato cage stakes. And then I found this really cool, and I would recommend it to everybody for staking things up. It's a Velcro tape. So it comes on a roll, and it's much easier than twine. It's easy to rip. It's waterproof. It works really, really well.
I've never seen that before. Velcro tape.
Yes, Velcro tape. It's like garden tape. But then these, they're so big that you can't even see that they're staked up.
That's why I didn't realize.
But yeah, the stems are so large. But we stake them when they're about 10 inches high. So that they are able to once they start growing up, you don't really have to worry about them flopping because they grow such a strong upright root system that even as the weather gets worse, if the stems are as thick as these, they're not going to fall over. So it's just about establishing them early and taking good care of them when they're babies to get them to look like this.
And I'm also seeing here that you use this weed suppression. What is this?
It's a weed barrier so that weeds don't grow on, through. I mean, they still can pop out through, but it's not like you're out here hoeing constantly. And it also holds water a lot better, so you're not out here watering constantly because the moisture stays in the soil a lot better, which again this year hasn't been the best. But
How do you water? Because I don't see hoses or irrigation, or is there irrigation?
So this year we haven't even had to water
Right.
because the entire month of July was rain. So there's so much water still in the soil that I probably won't need to water until maybe September.
Wow.
But when it's a dry year, we have a well system.
I know we were thinking about coming up here earlier in the season, and you just said, everything is so waterlogged.
Yeah, everything looked really bad. I mean, this is the first year I've ever lost a crop. I lost pretty much more than half of my snapdragons. But I mean, it happens. It's never happened before, so you count your blessings and just move on. But I have enough other flowers to not really lose out too much. But it is a bummer to see something that snapdragons are one of my favorite things to grow. So to see that go is a shame, but there's not much you can do to combat that. You can't control the weather.
Right. And so most of these are annuals, annual plants.
Yep.
But I see a couple of perennials over
Yeah,
there.
so dahlias are technically perennial. Every single year we dig up the bulbs, we put them in sawdust, and then we put them in the basement. And then the following year we unearth them again and rip them into multiple, because they come in once you dig them up, they're this huge, massive, ugly clump. And then you rip them apart, and then you get each one plant from each tuber. So
Let's
each
go
of
look at
these
the
plants-
dahlias.
Yes.
Yeah, show us the dahlias.
So these are my dahlia plants. I grow about 60 to 70 different varieties. Every winter, like I said, I dig them up, and then we label them with a ribbon saying what variety and color they are, and then we put them in the ground. So we don't really know which plant is which, but we know that we didn't put too many of the same in the ground because we were able to determine, okay, well, we have this many red, let's not put this So every plant is pretty much different. I don't really have two of the same. Except for maybe a couple yellow and a couple red. I just like to have the variety, and they grow so big that you'll get 60 flowers off of one plant usually. But yeah, these are my favorite. They're my biggest seller. I grow dinner plate varieties, which get to be about 8 inches wide, and then mini varieties, which are a bit smaller. So So these are more dahlia plants that I've grown back here, kind of just to try to test out this garden to see how it would do. This is much more dry soil, so they're doing really, really well. But we just were talking and we said, but if it was a dry year, the other garden would be way drier and they would probably all be doing way better. So it just depends. We were originally going to do the flower garden here and pretty much plow out all of this. And then we just decided to kind of stick with what we know and stay out there just because we knew that we've had success there. So, but you live and you learn, you take gambles. But these are all the dahlias that I grew. I have no idea what any of these are. But I think you can kind of tell, this is something I want to, you can kind of tell the color they're going to be based on the stem. So these are definitely going to be a lighter colored dahlia. And then say this is definitely going to be like red or purple. Just because you can tell from the stem color. And then I have this one variety, my favorite variety is called Lights Out Dahlia, and it's literally black.
Ooh.
It's so dark.
You were mentioning that you do social media.
Mhm.
And so how do we find you? How do people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Henry's Flower Farm CT. And my friend April, like I said, she runs all of that. That's how we kind of get the word out when we have bouquets out every day. That's how we kind of just get people to want to see. A lot of people just want to come see the flowers, they want to stop by, they
That's
want to see
great.
what we're up to. So that's how you can find us.
Perfect.
Yes, perfect.
So guys, thanks again for joining us here on New Digs at Henry's Flower Farm in Canton, Connecticut.
And thank you so much for coming over and seeing everything.
You're welcome.